Hey everybody, this is DIY Coach Al at Lawn Care and Home Repair. Let's take a few minutes today to talk about grass seed and whether or not we can grow grass during this spring season. Hold on, got some information for you. Cue the music. Amazing day already. I just wanted to take a few minutes today to talk about something that nobody taught me about. And I've been taking care of my grass full time for only about a year, but I've been kind of doing it on and off for the last 25 years. One of the things that I didn't appreciate when I started doing my own grass was the type of grass seed that we use. Now, last year, if you watch some of my previous videos, you'll see that I had a dickens of a time trying to get this grass to grow and stay grown, because it wasn't because I wasn't doing the right thing. It was because the weather just would not cooperate. Most of you, I'm sure, in this transition zone of growing grass, I'm sure you experienced the same thing last year with the drought, the heat, then too much rain. So we all had a very difficult time with the lawn care season last year. But this year I thought about something. I actually did 3 overseedings in my yard, and by the end of the summer, it was just looking spectacular. That Jonathan Green TTTF Black Beauty, it just did better than I thought it would do. So I ended up with everything well. I don't have any weeds in my yard. At the at the end of last year, I did see that I had some poa. I'm not sure if it was poa triv or poa nua that was growing over there, but because it started to spread, I had to just burn that off, use some glyphosate to burn it off, because it was actually spreading faster than I thought it was. So it is spread in this area where I don't actually get a lot of sun. The elements are just not good to seed and grow in this area. So it dawned on me, we cannot use the exact same grass seed throughout the yard if we don't have the exact same conditions, whether or not our grass is getting enough sunlight. Is it getting enough rain? Is it getting enough nutrients in the soil? And what I didn't take into consideration last year was that I have a few spots in my yard that have very difficult growing conditions, and that I had to use specific seed. I'm going to come right back and show you one of those areas. This was the biggest problem area that I had right here. Right now it's sunny. I'm recording this at about 4 o'clock on Saturday. I think it's around the 8th or 9th of March. And tomorrow, don't forget to turn your clocks forward, because it begins daylight savings, I think, after 2 o'clock this morning. But this area right here, I've been in this house for 3 years, and this area has just provided just the worst conditions for me. Right here, it's shady. Over here, it's shady. But when we get over to here, we have sunshine. And then if you look over there, you can see the shade coming off the house to the yard. This particular area of my yard over here does not get a lot of sun. And then we have this tree right here that when the leaves come on, it just really blocks almost all sunlight. Actually, you can see the sun is shining now, but this particular tree right here blocks almost any sunlight from getting to this area. So when I used my Black Beauty TTTF, I didn't think about the fact that this area just does not get a lot of sunlight, and that I needed to actually use a sunshade mix or a dense shade mix. Now, since I started off with Jonathan Green, I'm going to go ahead and stay with that and get the Jonathan Green dense shade grass seed, that particular cultivar. From the other videos that I saw, DIYs and even some professionals, I said that particular cultivar for an area of your grass that doesn't get that much shade actually works pretty well. But this area in my lawn right here, I planted along with everything else out here. I just went with the Black Beauty TTTF, and this part of the lawn did very well. The reason I'm pointing this out to you is because depending on the conditions of your yard, that's is what's going to determine really how your grass seed grows. You can get the best seed, you can water it, you can do everything else, but you need to make sure you have the right weather conditions to get your grass to growing in a way that is consistent. The other thing back there, when the grass grows, it just doesn't grow very high. Once again, that's because it is starved of sunlight. Sunlight is what our grass needs in order to grow. Sunlight, good soil condition, and also water. So this particular area, because it doesn't get a lot of shade, right now it looks shady, but it doesn't get a lot of shade. I had a difficult time getting the grass to grow over here. And I'm not sure, somebody leave me a comment, I would really appreciate it. I'm not sure if that's what really contributed to me having an outbreak of POA along this area. And as I said, it started to spread so quickly that instead of just putting something on it to kill it, boy, that I forget that certainty, I think is what you use. Yeah, the certainty for POA is so expensive. I didn't see that I was having this outbreak, that it was moving so quickly. Now, if I would have seen it, I would have just gone ahead and spent the money to get the certainty. But I saw this early on in the winter. So I said, hey, okay, let's just go ahead and glyphosate that, get rid of it, because I also knew I was going to use this area of the lawn as a test area. Right about here, when you come down off my deck to down here, I get good sunlight over here. But my neighbor's house is here. We have that tree. And then we have my house here. Between my neighbor's house, that tree, and my house, that area right there just doesn't get a lot of sun. As a matter of fact, when I checked the temperature of my soil today, back here, the temperature is only about 42 degrees. Beyond the fence in my front yard, the soil temperature is already at about 52 degrees. So, and we're projected to get good weather, warm weather up into the 70s in the next few days. So what I'll probably do is go ahead and lay my pre-emergent down, my prodiamine over there in the front yard, since the soil temperature is at that temperature where it's time to start putting down that pre-emergent. Now over here, this is the other part of my yard. We have all those trees there. We have my neighbor's house here. We have my house here. I don't get a lot of sunlight over here. Now the grass has been growing, but throughout the course of the year, I've had some spots that's been difficult. And along this fence line, the grass, once again, it grows, but it doesn't grow deeply. It doesn't grow tall. The other area that I'm going to use the dense shade mix is right here. This part of my front yard over here, we have this tree in my yard, we have my neighbor's tree right here, we have this tree right here. Between the three of those, I just don't get a lot of sun. And I did install a sprinkler system, so the grass is watered on a regular basis. I did my overseeding right here, and no matter what, I just didn't get good growth right here. I'm going to come back and tell you something else about the growth and what we do with the fertilizer. As I said, it's about time for me to put my pre-emergent down, and I am going to use the barricade, the active ingredient. That barricade, the herbicide, is prodiamine. That one, it's just really a good pre-emergent. It's really going to help suppress a lot of those weeds from germinating and coming up. But the problem is using prodiamine, triclopyr, and some of the other pre-emergents will not allow you to grow grass at the exact same time. So this part of the yard from here, once again, coming from down my steps to over here, I'm going to actually use tenacity. That active ingredient is mesotrione. And mesotrione is a pre and a post-emergent herbicide. So what I'm going to do is to plant dense shade mix over here and that other area of the house, but I'm going to be using mesotrione on this part, and then I'm going to be using prodiamine on that part of the yard. That means I'm going to be applying two different herbicides. I'm going to be applying two different types of pre-emergents. Now, I've never done that before. I will be using some blue dye to make sure I have that line of demarcation so that I'm not putting the prodiamine over where the new grass seed is. But because this area doesn't get a lot of sun, it gets sun during the day, but later on in the afternoon, it doesn't get a lot of sun. I also have a sprinkler head right over there. So it won't be a problem for me to water this part of the yard. And I'm going to actually move my trash cans from over here, move everything from over here, and take it to the other side of the house because I don't want to walk on it. Now, I have actually grown grass seed in the spring and in the summer before. The trick is you have to make sure you are getting water in that system. You're going to have to keep that seed wet. What I'm going to be doing is pre-germinating that seed this year. And since we are almost at 50 degrees right here, as I said, I'm going to go ahead and get that pre-emergent down. But what I'm going to do now, last year, I did a major scarifying project over here, and I also did core aeration. So instead of doing any more aeration or dethatching, I'm going to do a scarifying. That's just to put grooves in the seed, in the ground over here to make sure, and you put your pre-emergent down, your tenacity down, your mesotrione down after you have put those grooves in and after you've applied that grass seed, because you still want to have that barrier. And I'm going to just do a top dressing over there. I already have some peat moss over there I may use, and maybe just some regular topsoil. So I'm going to be putting my mesotrione on this area and over there in the other parts of the yard, but I'm going to be using my prodiamine over there. I promise you, if you have a problem growing grass in those areas that don't get a lot of sun, then instead of using a generic kind of cover all grass seed, make sure you are using the grass seed that's specific to your growing conditions. I can use that Black Beauty TTTF over here in this part of the yard because it gets sun almost all the time. But over here, I do not get that kind of sun. So over here, I'm going to have to go with the mesotrione I'm going to have to go with the dense shade mix. But then right beyond the fence coming out to my front yard, this area actually gets a lot of sunlight. This area stays well lit with the sunlight. As a matter of fact, when I did my overseeding last year for the second time, this area of the lawn just looks so spectacular that even today I had neighbors walking their dog saying, "Hey man, we try to keep our dog off your yard because it just looks so good during the summer." So because I did not have any issues with weeds over here in my main yard this year, I'm going to use the mesotrione over here. I did the pre-emergent at the end of the fall. I used the Jonathan Green, very green, but as I said, I haven't had any issues over here. So in this part of the yard, I'm going to be using the mesotrione over here because I have not had any issues with weeds. But once again, going over to this part of the yard, as you can see, it's shady over here. I don't get a lot of sunlight over here. So instead of using the mesotrione over here, instead of using the prodiamine over here, I'm going to be using the mesotrione so that I can and I'm going to do a major overseeding. I'm going to also over here, I'm not going to aerate, I'm going to scarify. Get those grooves in the grass. I have sprinkler heads over here, and they come out down the length of the house, and they hit this part of my yard that goes it stops right here where my neighbor's yard begins. So if you want to grow grass seed in the spring, you absolutely positively can do it. Here, once again, shade. Right over there, sun. These areas that have a lot of shade, you're going to have to make sure you are using the grass seed that's specific to your growing conditions. The other thing is, when you are using when you have those problem areas in your lawn, beyond my fence, I just use regular Pennington, I use Scott's, and it actually does well out there. But because of the difficulty that I have had with growing grass in these shady areas, I'm going to have to go with the higher quality grass seed. Those cultivars are specifically produced to based upon the type of growing conditions that you have. GCI, Black Beauty, the Jonathan Green Black Beauty, GCI Blackout. I believe that Ryan Noor has a dense shade mix also. I've been thinking about using some of his, but make sure if you really want to get your grass growing and you want to try to plant grass this season, this spring, you can do it. It will require work and it will require you specifically planting the greed that's specific to the type of environment that you have to grow that seed. So is it possible to grow grass in the spring? Yes, it is possible. It is not the most favorable condition because the temperatures are going to rise and rise and rise. When grass first starts growing, it needs to establish strong and deep roots. When the temperature starts to get above 80, 85, 90 degrees, the grass is going to be stressed. You're not going to get a lot of root growth. Sorry, that helicopter's going over. You're not going to get a lot of root growth because it's struggling. The grass is stressed. You're not going to get those deep roots. So if in fact you can't grow those roots too deep, the grass is going to struggle and it's going to die. You'll have a very shallow root system. But once again, based upon your soil condition, if you can get that water down to keep that grass seed moist, to keep that ground moist, when I do my spring overseeding over here, I'm not going to focus on top growth. I am going to use a starter fertilizer, but I'm not going to push a lot of nitrogen because I'm not as interested as that top growth over there as I am that root development. So I will use a starter fertilizer. I will use RGS, root growth stimulant. I am going to make sure it is getting a lot of water, and I am going to cover it with a topsoil, either compost or peat moss or maybe just regular topsoil. As I said, I have had success with growing grass seed in the summer and in the spring. Just last summer, I planted grass over there. I made sure it stayed watered and it actually grew. There was a bare spot over there. So hey, if you want to get some grass seed down this spring, you can absolutely do it. It will require you to do work. It will require you to make sure you have the right grass seed. It will require you to make sure you put that water on it, that you are keeping that seed moist. As I said before, I'm going to do the pre-germination. I've never done it before, but so many other YouTubers I see who've done the pre-germination, it just turns out really well. So I'm going to be doing that within the next few weeks. As I said, my soil temperature back here is still below 50, but out front it's above 50. So if you guys want to do it, I promise you, you can do it. I'll make sure I'm charting the progress and bringing it to you. You all, if this content really helps you, do your DIY coach at Lawn Care and Home Repair favor. Please hit that subscribe button and like the channel. And hey, give me some comments. Let me know what you think about the content. If anything I said you challenge or you agree with, leave me a note and let me know. If you want some more information about getting this spring lawn care season started off right, check out this video right here. Don't forget now, hit that subscribe button and that notification button so you can be notified when I put my next content out. Lawn Coach, DIY Coach out loud. Have a blessed day.